Will the House come to order? Members, we are on item 1, roll call. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Ayu, Mr. Alcos, Ms. Amato, Ms. Bellotti, Mr. Chun, Ms. Cochran,
Excuse.
Mr. Evslin, Mr. Ganadin, Mr. Garcia,
Excuse.
Mr. Garrett, Mr. Gates, Mr. Hashem, Mr. Holt, Ms. Hussey Burdick, Ms. Ichiyama, Ms. Kahaloa, Ms. Capella, Mr. Kila, Ms. Kitagawa, Mr. Kobayashi, Mr. Kong, Ms. Lachika, Ms. Lamosao, Ms. Lowen, Ms. Martin, Ms. Martinez, Mr. Matayoshi, Ms. Matsumoto, Mr. Miyake, Ms. Mizuno, Ms. Morikawa, Ms. Nakamura, Mr. Nakashima, Mr. Nishimoto, Mr. Onishi, Ms. Peruso, Mr. Pirrick, Ms. Poepoe, Mr. Quinlan, Mr. Saiki, Mr. Sayama, Ms. Souza, Mr. Takeyama, Ms. Takenouchi, Mr. Tam, Mr. Tarnas, Mr. Todd, Mr. Ward,
Excuse.
Mr. Woodson, Mr. Yamashita, Mr. Speaker.
Present.
Mr. Speaker, 48 members are present, 3 are excused.
Thank you. Item 2, reading of the journal. Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, may this matter be deferred.
So ordered. Item 3, Mr. Clerk, are there any messages from the governor?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we are in receipt of Governor's message numbers 1105 through 1107, informing the House that the noted House bills were signed into law on April 18, 2024, and designated as Acts 5 through 7. May these matters be received and filed.
So ordered. Item 4, Mr. Clerk, are there any Senate communications?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, if you and the members will turn your attention to the addendum to today's order of the day. We are in receipt of communications returning the noted House concurrent resolutions, both having been adopted in the Senate. We are in further receipt of a communication informing the House that the Senate has reconsidered action in disagreeing to amendments proposed by the House, has moved to agree, and has passed the noted Senate bill on final reading. We are also in receipt of communications informing the House that the Senate has appointed conferees to the noted House and Senate bills.
Members, introductions. Representative Amato.
Thank you, Speaker. If I may be permitted 2 introductions this morning.
Sure.
Thank you. First, I would like to welcome Pauline Arellano. She is the chair of the Protection Advocacy for Individuals with Mental Illness Council at the Hawaii Disability Rights Center. Welcome, Pauline. Also, she is a mother and a fierce advocate. Welcome to your House of Representatives. I would also like to welcome Ka'ulu Luivai and the Haumana from the Kekula Kaiapuni o Lahaina Immersion School. Eola Ka'olelo Hawaii, please rise and stand to be recognized by your House of Representatives. Welcome. May I please insert their names into the journal?
So ordered.
Thank you.
Representative Al-Baladi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to welcome and introduce in the gallery a group of Stevenson Middle School 8th grade teachers and students who are visiting the Capitol this morning. They are the 4th and final group of the entire Stevenson 8th grade class to participate in Dr. Andrea Pratt's Legislative Warrior Workshop, a full morning of activities introducing students to the legislature and its processes here in the Capitol. Will the teachers please stand and remain standing as I call your name? Dr. Andrea Pratt. Please hold your applause. Ms. Alicia Horakami, Ms. Kylie Nakamura, and Ms. Naomi Oshiro. I'd also like to introduce and thank Mr. Ke'ahi Ranaud, who has coordinated and presented the 4 morning-long sessions on behalf of the House and the Senate. And will all of the students please stand to be recognized? Aloha to all of you and welcome to your House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, may I request that the names of all of our guests be entered into the journal?
So ordered.
Thank you.
Representative Nishimoto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too would like to add my welcome to the kids from Stevenson, but I do want to point out one student in particular who's up in the gallery joining us today. Many of us have seen her grow up at the Capitol. She used to come around, started coming around when she looked like a peanut, so I nicknamed her Peanut. She's grown up into a beautiful young lady. I really want to recognize our health chair's daughter, Eliana, for being here today with her class. Welcome, Peanut, to your House of Representatives.
So embarrassing. All right, with no further introductions, let's move on to recess, subject to the call of the chair. Will the House come to order? Proud members, we are currently on the order of the day. Item 5, unfinished business. Representative Nakamura.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adopt House Concurrent Resolution Number 226 and House Resolution Number 212.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Any discussion on HCR 226 and HR 212? Members will be taking a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. Before we go on to item 6, Representative Tam would like to do a late introductions.
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the gallery today, we have 3 members of that are newly appointed to the LGBTQ plus Commission for the state of Hawaii. We have Dr. Sandy Hajo Livingston, Dr. Kat Odell, and Michael Galoyu Jr. Welcome to your House of Representatives.
Members, we are on item 6, reports of standing committees. Representative Nakamura.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adopt Standing Committee Report Numbers 1926-24 through 1933-24 as listed on pages 2 and 3, and that the accompanying Senate concurrent resolutions as may be amended be adopted.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Any discussion on SANCOM report 1926-24? 1927, 1928, Representative Perrick.
In opposition.
Proceed.
I'd like to thank the introducers of this measure. They have a good heart and a good intention behind it, albeit the same. The negative part about this resolution is that it discourages the judicial branch applying fines to minors, believing that it doesn't effectively deter their actions. I disagree with this. When I was raised, my parents fined me for when I misbehaved, and I'm grateful for that. I believe that fines are an effective way to deter children's behaviors and get them in the right direction.
Representative Ganadin.
In support, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed.
The data from across the world and the United States suggests that fines do not deter criminal behavior from minors. In fact, it's just the opposite. It encourages minors to not want to work with authority figures. There are much better ways to deal with minors in the justice system. When the judiciary testified, they said that they largely have discouraged using fines. They needed this to do better assessment after a resolution that was passed last year. In support.
Moving on to 1929. Next page. 1930. 1931, 1932, 1933. Members will be taking a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. Item 7, final reading. Members, there will be 3 motions. 1 to agree to the Senate amendments, 1 to suspend the rules for final reading by consent, and 1 to pass the House bills on final reading. Representative Nakamura for the motion to agree.
Mr. Speaker, I move to agree to the amendments made by the Senate to House Bill Number 159, HD1, House Bill Number 470, HD2, House Bill Number 1529, HD2, House Bill Number 1554, HD1, House Bill Number 1642, HD1, House Bill Number 1889, HD1, House Bill Number 1923, HD1, House Bill Number 1936, HD2, House Bill Number 2337, HD1, House Bill Number 2343, HD1, House Bill Number 2395, HD1, House Bill Number 2396, HD1, House Bill Number 2400, HD2, House Bill Number 2426, HD2, House Bill Number 2463, HD2, House Bill Number 2485, HD1, House Bill Number 2486, HD1, House Bill Number 2488, HD1, House Bill Number 2489, HD1, House Bill Number 2491, HD2, House Bill Number 2492, HD2, House Bill number 2493, HD2, House Bill number 2577, HD1, House Bill number 2626, HD1, and House Bill number 2657, HD1.
Representative Morikawa.
I second the motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules of the House in order to consider certain House bills for final reading by consent calendar.
Representative Perrick.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. Representative Nakamura.
Mr. Speaker, I move that said House bills with Senate drafts as listed on pages 4 through 8 pass final reading.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Any discussion on HB 159? HB 470, Representative Albaladi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand in strong support of House Bill 470, Senate Draft 1, with brief remarks.
Proceed.
I promise will be brief, Mr. Speaker. This is a really important bill as it addresses a very important gap group within our homeless population. In 2023, 3 unsheltered youths died while living on the streets of Oahu. One of the 3 homeless youths who died was Acacia Lindsay Kaiu Brown, a young woman of Nanakuli, Hawaii, who died on the streets of Kailua on July 25th, 2023. She was born here in Honolulu. Like Acacia, almost 1 in 4 homeless youth reported that their reason for becoming homeless is physical abuse or parental substance abuse. More than half of UNHA's youths who want to access shelter and services are told it is not available. We know from the Department of Education there are 3,542 students in unstable housing in the last 2 years. In 2021, this body passed Act 23, which allowed for unaccompanied minors to consent to a no-cost emergency shelter and related services. But this act sunsetted on June 30th, 2023, nearly a month before Acacia Kaiu Brown died on the streets of Kailua. That act ensured that young people experiencing homelessness had safe and secure shelter where they could be stabilized, heal, and access resources, including much needed mental health treatment, suicide prevention, and drug counseling. Mr. Speaker, this bill today will allow those vulnerable, unhoused minors to once again have pathways to end their homelessness by allowing vetted community providers to provide a safe and low-barrier alternative to licensed child caring institutions. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the introducer of this bill, the representative from Waikiki, and the Human Services Chair for working so diligently on making sure this bill got over the finish line. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Ward.
Speaker, with reservations, brief comment.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, these kids need help. They need a safe haven like this. Unfortunately, too many are out there, and I want to cite the hope that we have that this bill does not have to be used so often. As the governor stood there in the State of the State and said, the goal of the homeless czar, our former Representative Mizuno, is to cut homelessness by 50% in the next 3 years. That is a great goal if it's accomplishable. Some things, and like the tragedy of Acacia, should not happen again. But for the immediate purposes, this is a necessary step. Thank you, sir.
Representative Alcos.
And oppose.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I like this bill that is helping out the homeless or the kids that is in need, especially the ones that are getting abused. I think that is a really important bill that we pass. But what about if I had a kid that their cell phone got taken away and they want to run away? And you go to the shelter. I have no idea where that kid is. I have 30 days, but not knowing where my kid is going, just because you take away their cell phone. Now, nowadays, when you take away their cell phone, it's more worse than lickings. The kids crying because they cannot communicate with their friends or cannot go on Instagram or TikTok or whatever social media it is. And they run away because they don't, from your home, and yet as a parent, we don't know where they're going. We cannot find out because if the kid does not let the shelter know who their parent and what their parent is, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I wouldn't be able to know where my kid is going. I mean, I would search day and night to try to find that kid. Now, if there's some kind of word in the language that we can change this bill, or that they have to call your parent, or the kids would have to let you know where your parent is or what's going on, I would understand maybe, we have that kind of thought, but then I understand where the kid can get hurt or would get on the opposite side of it. But as a parent, imagine now a lot of kids run away from home just because of you feel like you cannot even call your boyfriend or girlfriend, and you're breaking up that relationship. But that's life skills that they start going out, and a lot of teens run away because of that. How do we protect parents' rights at that point? That's the reason why I oppose this bill. Thank you.
Representative Martin.
In support, I just wanted to clarify that among the many services that this shelter provides, the first is assistance in reunification with a family if they deem it appropriate. If the child is being abused by their family, then that would not be appropriate, but in most other situations it is, and they try to help with that and also do family counseling. Thank you.
Members, we're going to move on. Representative Tam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In support, I would just like to have the words of the Health Chair and the words of the Human Services Chair inserted into the journal as if they're my own, except for the part where she was thanking the introducer, of course. But I just also want to say that, let's say that your child does run away. I think that any parent would rather have their child being sheltered than on the street where they're subjected to illness and possible death. Thank you.
HB 1529, HB 1554, HB 1642, next page, HB 1889, HB 1923, HB 1936, HB 2337, HB 2343, next page, HB 2395, HB 2396, HB 2400, HB 2426, HB 2463, next page, HB 2485, HB 2486, HB 2488, HB 2489, HB 2491, next page, HB 2492, HB 2493, HB 2577, HB 2626, HB 2657. Representative Morikawa for the vote.
Mr. Speaker, on the measures before us, all majority members vote aye, with the exception of the following on page 5. HB number 1936, HD2 SD2, Rep. Poi Poi votes no. On page 8, HB number 2657, HD1 SD1, Rep. Ganaden votes no.
Representative Perrick.
On the measures before us, all minority members vote aye with the exception of the following. On page 4, HB 470, HD2, SD2, Alcos and Perrick vote no. On page 5, HB 1936, HD2, SD2, Perrick votes no. On page 6, HB 2463, HD2, SD2, Perrick votes no. On page 8, HB 2657, HD1, SD1, Kanani votes no. Souza votes no.
Members, have all votes been cast? Said bills pass first, final reading. All right, action sheets. Members, please turn to your digital action sheets. We will be taking up two motions. One, to suspend the rules to reconsider our previous action and disagreeing to the Senate amendments, and one, to reconsider our previous action and give notice to the intent to agree. Representative Nakamura for the motion to suspend the rules to reconsider previous action.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules of the House to reconsider action previously taken in disagreeing to amendments made by the Senate to certain House bills.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. Representative Nakamura for the motion to reconsider.
Mr. Speaker, I move to reconsider action previously taken in disagreeing to the amendments made by the Senate and to give notice of the intent to agree to the amendments to the following House bills as referenced on your digital action sheets. House Bill number 1578, HD2. House Bill number 1974, HD1. House Bill number 2216, HD2. And House Bill number 2393, HD1.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Any discussions? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. Members, these measures will appear on Monday's order of the day for agree and final reading. We're back on item 8, announcements.
Mr. Speaker.
Representative Ichiyama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of myself and the representative from Lihue, we would just like to invite everyone, members and staff, to our film screening of 2 short films about the Kauai Forest Bird Recovery Project. Please come down and join us. We will also have members of the Kauai Forest Bird Recovery Project with us to answer questions, as well as play a trivia game with prizes. It's at 2 o'clock in the auditorium this afternoon. Thank you.
With no further announcements, the chair would like to remind committee chairs that today is the second crossover filing deadline for amended Senate concurrent resolutions. Please file your committee reports and drafts with the Chief Clerk's office by 6 p.m. this evening. Again, that's 6 p.m. this evening. Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this House stand adjourned until 11:30 a.m. Monday.
Representative Perrick.
I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. The House stands adjourned until 11:30 a.m. Monday.